welcome to Global Homeroom, a global education video series with Reach the World. I'm your host, Colin Teague. In our second episode, we'll take a look at the recently concluded MOSAiC expedition to the Arctic, and we'll talk with science educator Jesse Hildebrand about the importance of global and virtual exchanges in STEM education. As I mentioned, we're starting off by looking back at the MOSAiC expedition to the Arctic, which concluded with an awesome virtual celebration on January 21st.
What is one final piece of advice that you'd like to share with students who want to follow in your footsteps?
I would just say that this can definitely be you, right? Your ideas, your energy are really needed. We need you to study the climate system, to study the Arctic. So be interested, be curious, and follow your curiosity.
My advice would be to, as you saw in the video, how fun it could be. There's so much fun in science, but also there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. So work your butts off to get to those goals, but also remember there's going to be lots of hard work behind the scenes, and just to stay dedicated, it all pays off eventually in some way or another.
I have always dreamed of being a polar scientist in some way, shape, or form. And, you're going to encounter challenges throughout your path into what you ultimately want to do. So just know that you can overcome those challenges if you have a true passion for something that you're really interested in doing, like science.
We at Reach the World are so proud to have shared this expedition with classrooms around the US and across the world. The MOSAiC expedition is actually the largest polar expedition in history, featuring hundreds of explorers and researchers from 20 different countries around the world, all working together to conduct important research on climate change. The MOSAiC team conducted their research while floating in sea ice aboard a German icebreaker vessel called the RV Polarstern. These explorers and researchers documented their experience and their findings through a Reach the World journey page and video calls, connecting with over 64 K-12 classrooms during the past year. You can still follow the MOSAiC expedition to the Arctic or other current and past Reach the World Explorer Program expeditions by going to athome.reachtheworld.org/explore. This week's featured guest is Jesse Hildebrand, science educator, biologist, and inspiring member of Reach the World's Explorer community. Jesse helps connect K-12 classrooms with explorers and researchers in the field as Vice President of Education at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and he's collaborated with Reach the World on some exciting projects, including the ongoing Backyard Bio expedition. Jesse, can you tell us how you first got into science education?
So, I've always wanted to do this. I'm one of those very lucky people who, from when I was 4 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. Steve Irwin was my hero. And the fact that you can literally talk about what you're fascinated with and make a career out of that blows my mind as much today as it did when I was 4 years old. And so Joe Grabowski, founder of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, had found out about me through some of my work running a national science festival in Canada, reached out in the very, very early days of the organization and told me what it was all about. And basically, it was the best idea I'd ever heard. And so I had a dream job at that point. So I did that and for a while and sort of served as volunteer in chief for many years from the inception of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And then as of, I guess, not last November, but a little over a year now, it's been my full-time role. But I've been involved since the get-go, and it's just such a thrilling opportunity every single day to get to do this.
Can you tell us about Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants and what is its primary mission?
Yeah, so Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants tries to break down classroom walls. We want to bring the most engaging scientists and explorers around the world directly into classrooms live in these interactive free broadcasts. So all those elements are really integral. It's free so that anyone in the world can tune in and be a part of it. It's interactive. We think that's a really key element where people actually have the chance to talk with the scientists, talk with the explorers, and have that sort of connection, see them as a person. And there's so many of them. We do 40 to 50 of these a month with every topic you can imagine. So if you're interested in any element of science or exploration, we probably have something for you. So that's our mission.
Now, I wanted to go back to talking a little bit more about the classroom. And we started talking a little bit about Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, their virtual exchange opportunities. Of course, we at Reach the World offer virtual exchanges for classrooms too. We've had the privilege of working together several times, which has been a wonderful experience for us and hopefully for the classrooms that have joined us. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think virtual exchanges are so important to STEM education?
Yeah, I mean, I think any sort of experience you could have in science or exploration is really exciting. So, I mean, if you think back personally, think back to the times in your life where you were in school where you remember it, you remember those moments. So for me, it was getting to light the floor on fire with a very jaunty chemistry teacher, or to go on the roof of our building and use a telescope and look for stars. And so those sort of experiences are what stick with me way more than, you know, doing a class, doing a test, reading a textbook. So with virtual exchanges, you get to have that same sort of experience, that same sort of excitement, but from around the world. And that's the marvel of virtual exchanges, that you can bring Earth and the universe into a classroom. You can talk with the coolest people. You can share stories and people that the kids might not otherwise ever have had the opportunity to see to them directly. And you can do this all the time, which is really, really exciting. And I think more than that, one of the things that really benefits other classrooms is that you can reach classrooms that don't even have those opportunities to do those things in person at all. I'm in Toronto, and when I was a kid, we went on field trips to local conservation areas, Royal Ontario Museum here in Toronto, you know, the zoo, the aquarium, all these amazing places. And we're very lucky and fortunate to have those opportunities. If you're in rural Northern Ontario or rural Iowa, you may not have those sort of resources, assets, organizations that you can actually have those experiences with personally. So a virtual exchange allows you to experience the world, to have those opportunities no matter where you're joining from, which I think is just, it's like pure magic. It's amazing.
So you mentioned one of the reasons that virtual exchanges are so important in STEM education and just education in general is, especially for schools in rural areas, we don't all necessarily have access to some of the exciting things that students and schools can participate in major metropolitan areas. But in the midst of a global pandemic, even in these metropolitan areas, we don't necessarily get to experience all of those things. So what advice do you have for teachers who want to make their curriculum more engaging when classes are remote?
Yeah, and I think that there's so many opportunities to do that now. You know, being remote is never going to be as good as being in person with your actual students, but if you give kids that opportunity to get out and experience the world, to go enjoy, and to give them science experiments that they can do by themselves independently, out in the street, literally out in fields and forests and parks near them, there's so many rich opportunities to learn. So with biology, there are amazing apps like iNaturalist and Seek that allow kids to get out and explore and understand the natural world near them. If you're interested in space, I mean, NASA has this suite of incredible programs and inspirational activities that you can do. There are apps where you can explore the constellations near you. There's a Spot the Station app where you can literally see where the International Space Station is at all time. So to be able to get to witness those things, experience that sort of connection with the fact that we've got an orbiting space lab going around the Earth is incredible. It's amazing. It's magical and captivating, and I love it as an adult every bit as much as I would have when I was a kid. You know, back many years ago now. For science too, it's such an inherently experimental process, and I think that more than ever, science communicators are releasing this incredible suite of activities that are easy, fun, accessible, with household materials that people can do from home. So if teachers are willing to make that leap to share the resources and programs of other great educators, other great educational organizations like Reach the World, like Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, they can really connect with kids in a really meaningful and impactful way.
And of course, you can find many of those awesome science resources on Reach the World's website, as well as Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants website, and of course, all over the internet. And you mentioned iNaturalist, which I know is a big part of the Backyard Bio expedition. One of the ways that you have been working with Reach the World, connecting us with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And can you tell us what the Backyard Bio expedition is and what its major goals are?
Yeah, so Backyard Bio is, I mean, it's the ultimate passion project for me. I loved getting out and exploring the natural world near me. And I think that no matter where you're joining from, wherever you are around the world, there's incredible wildlife near you. Does it need to be something like a lion or an elephant or a rhino? I mean, we've all seen pictures of the amazing creatures in East Africa, and that might be the greatest place in the world, but wherever you're coming in from, I'm in the heart of a major city here in Toronto, and yet I go outside my backyard and there are dozens of species and dozens of stories of ways of making a living in the world, which is really, really exciting. So Backyard Bio is meant to encourage people to get out, to explore, to go to the local forest, local stream, literally their backyard, and observe what lives near them. You know, document it, take a picture, sketch if you're a terrible photographer like me, and then share it. And we want to make sure that people can share it in a way where not only do they get the satisfaction and joy of highlighting the creatures that are close to them, but have this opportunity to connect with other people around the world. So through the iNatural staff, through social media, through Reach the World's Expedition page, and through direct classroom connections. I mean, we want to put groups in Toronto in touch with groups in Seattle, in touch with groups in Sydney, Australia. And so you have kids that are taking charge of their own learning. They're getting out and experiencing nature. They're having fun. They get the chance to share that, which is thrilling for them. And they get to see what other people have in their backyards around the globe, but as seen by people their own age. It's fantastic to have an expert come in and say, hey, here's the wildlife on the Great Barrier Reef. This is the coolest stuff. And that is amazing. I mean, it's an element of both of what our organizations do. But to have kids that are the same age say, this is what lives near me, and to revel in that and to share that and to connect with that, that's the goal. And I think that there's real power in that, that if people not only understand the breadth of the diversity that's near them, but get this community sense of the wealth of global wildlife, that can lead to some real good. So that's the idea behind it. It's really in its first year, and it's gone well beyond my wildest dreams for it. So that's been the feedback so far from teachers and educators, and I'm really excited to see where it goes come May when we're launching it in a bigger way again. And it's been thrilling having Reach the World help share this out, share stories of individual teachers, and get people as excited as I am about wildlife, which is hard to pull off. So yeah, that's the that's the goal.
It's great to hear that it's been so successful so far. Why do you think that it's so popular?
It's easy is the first part of it. I mean, I know it sounds trite, but it's something where there's no barrier to entry. You know, it's a lot of fun to get to share more intense scientific concepts, more intense concepts in a lot of fields with people, and to get them do something really deep and detailed. But this is so easy. You can actually contribute to real science. You can actually learn more about the world around you by literally stepping out your door and paying attention. And that's powerful. That's something where no matter what your situation is, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what the COVID situation is with your classroom, you can do that. And because we offer so many ways that people can share their images, there's little technological barrier to entry. If you have no access to technology, then it's not quite as fun. You don't get that connection element, but anyone can do that. And I think that that's the mantle that teachers took up, and that's what kids really responded well to. So I think that that's the essence of it. We can quiz a bunch of teachers and see if they have different answers, but that's the so far the thought that I'm getting from a lot of educators around the world.
Yeah, I know I was introduced to iNaturalist by a friend a few years ago, and it's just really so cool to be able to document your own exploration of the natural world, and it makes you feel like you're genuinely a part of the scientific community, which of course you are, because I know that iNaturalist has even contributed to a lot of wildlife research, and it's even a helpful tool to scientists. So it's so exciting that you're getting students involved with this. What is next for Backyard Bio, and how can students and educators get involved this spring?
Yeah, so next is that we're going supernova with it. We're going as big as we can possibly go. I have sent something on the order of 1,000 cold call emails to every science organization and environmental education group that I can think of around the world. And so far we, in the lead up to May, we have partners now in 6 continents. We have major groups involved in Australia, the UK, beyond. And so the world is our oyster. I mean, I'm extremely hopeful that it's going to be as big as I can envision it in my mind. I know it's also the first big year, so we'll see how it goes, but the more people that get involved, the better. And I think that, through the various ways that we're encouraging people to get involved and take part, we'll have the opportunity to share stories from naturalists around the globe and highlight their excitement of getting involved and what their local neck of the woods means to them and getting out in nature. So that's exciting for me. We're hoping to have 1,000 classrooms take part, that we're going to partner in groups of 3 or 4 around the globe so they can have these sort of conversations, share what they discover. So in terms of getting involved, backyardbio.net. It's all there, every way that teachers can get involved, educational resources, activities for kids, posters where people can get inspired and encouraged to get out in nature, classroom observation charts where people can, document what they've discovered and share that with other classrooms. Classrooms can register there, eco clubs can register there, homeschools can register there. We're differentiating them so we can put them all in touch with one another. So very, very easy. And I'll follow up with you personally. So that's, I guess, one of the fun of this is that anyone who gets involved can reach out to me anytime. I make sure that's very clear. I'm really excited to hear from so many people around the globe, and that's that's Backyard Bio coming up in May in a nutshell.
Thank you, Jesse. Teachers, you heard it here. This spring is a perfect time to get involved in the Backyard Bio expedition. Reach the World will also be hosting Jesse in video conferences with classrooms to talk about the exciting things that students are seeing in their backyards, in their neighborhood parks, and around the cities and towns and areas that they live. Thank you so much, Jesse, for your time today and for sharing all of this incredibly valuable information about science education and the incredible resources that exist online to help teachers and students enhance their curriculum in the classroom, whether that's virtual or in person.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Colin. It's always a pleasure to chat with anyone at Reach the World. You guys are such an amazing organization doing such cool stuff. So thank you. And I hope people get a lot out of it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. And likewise for exploring by the seat of your pants. And that's all for this week's episode of Global Homeroom with Reach the World. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and tune in for another episode in 2 weeks.